The Secret Life of Marcus Hayes, starring Latrice Harper, RN. Chapter 1, Night Shift. The worst nights never announced themselves. They just slid in quiet, like any other shift. Latrice Harper glanced up at the wall clock above the nurse's station. 11:42 p.m. The fluorescent lights hummed softly overhead, and the ER had that strange, tired rhythm. A couple of drunk walk-ins, a kid with an asthma flare, an older lady in triage complaining of just not feeling right. Same chaos, different day? Latrice took a sip of her lukewarm coffee and grimaced. Cold, of course. Sheesh, she muttered under her breath. Can't nothing in here ever be hot except these tempers? Harper! She turned toward the charge nurse, Rhonda, who was flipping through charts. We just got word. MVC coming in hot. 2 males, possible internal injuries. 15 out. Latrice straightened. Coffee forgotten. All right. Bay 2 ready? Yep. Trauma team's on standby. You're primary nurse. Got it. She washed her hands, pulled on fresh gloves, and did that mental shift nurses do, from tired to locked in. The door to the ambulance bay slid open, and a chill of warm night air drifted in with voices. A moment later, paramedics burst through pushing a gurney. 45-year-old male found in the driver's seat of a sedan, the lead medic said, rattling off numbers. Positive seatbelt. Airbags deployed. Complains of chest pain and shortness of breath. Vitals en route. BP 148/90. Heart rate 112. O2 sat 93 on 4 liters. Name's Marcus Hayes. Another medic followed behind with a second stretcher. Second victim, early 30s, front passenger, minor injuries, mainly superficial, really anxious, wouldn't leave the driver. Latrice stepped to the head of the first gurney, eyes moving over the man's face. He was medium brown, handsome even under the bruising, and sweat beaded along his forehead. His eyes were wild. Mr. Hayes, my name is Latrice. I'm your nurse tonight, she said, voice calm but firm. You're in the emergency department. We're going to take care of you, all right? He grabbed at her wrist with surprising strength. Where is he? Where's Darius? Is he okay? Passenger is right behind you, sir, one of the medics answered. He's stable. Latrice glanced back. The second stretcher was occupied by a lighter-skinned man in his early 30s, dreadlocks pulled back, eyes red like he'd been crying for hours. He was twisting his hands together, staring at Marcus as if nothing else in the world existed. Baby, I'm here, he called, voice shaking. I'm right here, okay? I'm not going nowhere. Latrice clocked the word automatically. Baby. Her brain filed it away without judgment, just habit. Nurses noticed everything. Sir, we're going to transfer you now, she said, focusing on Marcus. On 3. 1, 2, 3. They slid him from the EMS stretcher to the hospital bed. He groaned as his ribs shifted under his weight. Chest pain, 8 out of 10 at least, the medic said. Possible rib fracture. No loss of consciousness reported, but he was pretty out of it when we got there. Any history? Latrice asked. Yeah, the second medic chimed in. He mentioned hypertension and something else, but he got real cagey when I asked. Said his doctor already knows. He shrugged. You'll see in his chart, I guess. Latrice nodded, already placing EKG leads on Marcus's chest. She couldn't help but notice the way his eyes kept darting past her to the second bed, where Darius was now sitting up, ignoring his own nurse's questions. Marcus, I need you to look at me, Latrice said firmly. Can you take a deep breath? He tried, winced, and hissed through his teeth. All right, we're going to get you scanned and get some pain meds on board. You got any allergies? No, he gasped. Then, in a lower, almost frantic voice, You called my wife? Latrice blinked. We just got you here, sir. I haven't called anyone yet. EMS listed an emergency contact. Is that your wife's number? His eyes filled with panic. Please, don't call her. Please, not yet. Just, please. There was that feeling, the one Latrice got sometimes, when the medical emergency wasn't the only emergency in the room. "We're going to focus on your injuries first," she said neutrally. "We'll handle contacts after we stabilize you." Marcus nodded weakly, but his eyes slid toward Darius again. Darius stared back, lips trembling. "I love you," he mouthed. "I'm right here." Latrice pretended not to see, but her stomach tightened. Tonight's going to be long, she thought. Chapter 2. The Chart. An hour later, the initial storm had passed. Marcus had been medicated for pain, had his EKG, chest x-ray, CT scans, and blood drawn. Darius's injuries were minor, some cuts, bruises, and a sprained wrist. He'd already refused pain meds, saying, "Give it to him. He needs it more than once." Latrice stood at the computer in the dimly lit corner of the trauma bay, pulling up Marcus's chart in the hospital's electronic system. Name, Hayes Marcus Allen. Age, 45. Marital status, married. Emergency contact, Hayes, Vanessa, spouse. She felt that little internal flinch. Of course. She scrolled further. Past medical history, essential hypertension, hyperlipidemia, HIV infection. Diagnosed 2018. Non-compliance with follow-up. She froze. The HIV diagnosis was accompanied by several notes from infectious disease. A patient counseled extensively regarding safe sex practices and disclosure to partners. Multiple missed appointments. Viral load remains detectable. Strongly advised to follow up for medication adjustment. Patient verbalized understanding. Latrice stared at the screen for a long moment. It wasn't the first time she'd seen HIV in a patient's chart. This wasn't the 80s. Treatment had come a long way. People lived full lives when they were consistent with medication. But the combination of HIV, non-compliance, married, and the way Darius had called him baby in front of everyone? Her chest tightened. She took a breath and forced herself to keep scrolling. Stay in your nurse lane, girl. Stay in your lane. Rhonda appeared at her side, her voice hushed. "How bad is he? Rib fractures, pulmonary contusion, possible small pneumothorax," Latrice replied, eyes still on the screen. "They're watching him closely, but he's stable for now, admitting him to step down." "Good. His lab's back?" "Yeah." Her finger hesitated over the mouse. "He's HIV positive. Viral load's high. It's not controlled." Rhonda let out a very quiet, very nurse-like sigh. "Wife know?" Latrice shook her head. "We haven't even called her yet. He asked me not to." Rhonda gave her a look over the top of her glasses. "You know better." "I didn't say I was listening," Latrice shot back softly. "I just said he asked." Rhonda nodded once. "You gonna call her, or you want me to do it?" "I'll call," Latrice said, already pulling up the number from the chart. "I'm primary." Rhonda touched her shoulder briefly. "Document everything. You know this one got potential to blow." Latrice gave a humorless little laugh. "Oh, I feel it in my spirit." She clicked the phone icon and listened to the line ring. Chapter 3. The Wife. "Hello." The voice on the other end sounded sleepy and confused. "Hi, is this Mrs. Vanessa Hayes?" "Yes, this is she. Who is this?" "Mrs. Hayes, my name is Latrice Harper. I'm a registered nurse at St. Gabriel Medical Center. I'm calling about your husband, Marcus. He was in a car accident tonight and—" "Oh my God," the woman gasped. "Is he okay? Is he alive? Where is he? What happened?" Latrice switched into that calmer than she felt tone she'd perfected over years of nights like this. "He's alive, and he is stable currently," she said. "He has some injuries we're treating, and he's going to be admitted for monitoring. I'm calling to let you know and to see if you're able to come to the hospital." Yes, I'm coming right now," Vanessa said. What entrance do I use?" Latrice gave quick directions, answered a few more frantic questions, and gently refused to go into detail over the phone. When she hung up, she stared at the receiver for a moment. She had done this 1,000 times, but tonight there was that extra layer. Latrice looked through the glass window into Marcus's room. He was half sitting in the bed, oxygen cannula in place, chest wrapped. Darius was in a chair in the corner, one foot tapping nervously. The two men weren't touching now, but their eyes were talking. When Darius noticed Latrice looking, he stood and walked over to her just outside the doorway. Excuse me, ma'am, Nurse, Harper? He said quietly, reading her badge. Is he really okay? He's stable, she replied. His scans look promising. They're going to admit him for monitoring, but right now, he's okay. Darius closed his eyes for a second, like he was trying to hold back tears. Thank you, for real. Thank you. Latrice nodded, then took a breath. Are you his family? She asked, voice neutral. Darius's jaw worked. I'm his... He stopped, looked back at Marcus, then at the floor. I'm just a close friend, he finished stiffly. Latrice didn't respond beyond that one syllable, but the air between them shifted anyway. He ain't got nobody like me, Darius blurted softly, voice raw. I'm the one that know what time he takes his meds. I'm the one who know when he don't. I'm the one that go with him to appointments. When he actually go. I'm the one that picked his prescriptions up when he was too scared to go in the pharmacy. He swallowed hard. But I ain't got no ring she can see. Latrice looked at him for a long moment. She heard what he wasn't saying. She also heard Rhonda's voice in her head. Document everything. Mr. Darius Collins. Mr. Collins, I understand that you care about him, she said quietly. But I do need you to know that his wife has been notified and she's on her way. Darius's face drained of color. His wife? She coming here? She is his legal emergency contact, Latrice said. We are obligated to inform her. He exhaled, a sound halfway between a laugh and a sob. It was bound to happen eventually, I guess. Latrice didn't respond. It wasn't her place to comfort him about that. She walked back into the room to check Marcus's vitals. As she adjusted his IV, he grabbed her wrist again. You called her, didn't you? His voice was hoarse. Yes, Mr. Hayes, Latrice said evenly. Your wife is on her way. He cursed under his breath, eyes closing. You don't understand. You don't understand. I don't need to understand, she replied quietly. My job is to take care of you medically and to notify your emergency contact. That's what I've done. He stared at her miserably. Is he okay? He whispered, glancing toward Darius. Mr. Collins is stable, she answered. He has minor injuries. He'll likely be discharged sooner than you. Marcus nodded, chest heaving. Good, good. Latrice stepped back. I'm going to step out and finish your admission orders. I'll be right outside if you need anything. She walked away with that heavy feeling spreading in her chest. This wasn't just a car wreck. This was a collision of lives. Chapter 4, Waiting Room, Storm. Vanessa arrived less than an hour later. Latrice spotted her from behind the glass doors, a woman in her early 40s, hair wrapped in a scarf, t-shirt and joggers thrown on in a rush, house shoes still on her feet. Her eyes darted around the waiting room until they locked onto the sign that read, Check In. Latrice wiped her hands on her scrub pants and stepped up to meet her. Mrs. Hayes? She asked softly. Vanessa turned, eyes wide. Yes. Is he alive? Where is he? Please, just tell me he's alive. He's alive, Latrice said calmly. He's stable. He has some injuries we're treating, but he is talking, alert, and he's going to be admitted for monitoring. Vanessa's shoulders sagged with relief. Tears filled her eyes. Okay, thank you. Can I see him? Please tell me I can see him. Yes, ma'am. I'll take you back in just a minute, Latrice replied. As they walked toward the trauma bay, Vanessa asked, Was he alone? Or was there someone with him? The person on the phone said something about they. Latrice chose her words carefully. He was brought in with another individual who was also in the vehicle. That person is stable as well. Who? Vanessa pressed. Was it a co-worker? A friend? Some random person he hit? Latrice took a breath. I'm not able to disclose details about other patients, Mrs. Hayes. I'm sorry. Vanessa's eyes narrowed slightly, suspicion flashing there, but she didn't say anything else. When they reached the double doors, Latrice paused. Before I bring you in, I want to prepare you, she said. He does have some visible injuries, bruising, some bandages. It may be a lot to see at first, but he is stable, and we're taking good care of him. Vanessa nodded quickly. Okay, I just need to see him. Latrice pushed open the doors. The moment Vanessa saw Marcus lying in the bed, hooked to monitors, her hand flew to her mouth. Oh my God, she whispered. Then louder, Marcus. He turned his head slowly. Nessa. She rushed to his side, grabbing his hand carefully. What happened? Are you okay? Do you hurt? Oh my God. Baby, you scared me half to death. Latrice stepped back to give them space, but from her vantage point near the doorway, she saw the exact moment Vanessa's gaze shifted, and landed on Darius in the corner. He was standing up now, leaning against the wall, his arms folded tightly, eyes glassy. He'd been watching, silent. Vanessa's brows furrowed. Who is... Her eyes snapped back to Marcus. Who is that? Marcus swallowed. Nessa just... Marcus. Her voice sharpened. Who is that? Darius straightened, trying to compose himself. I'm a friend. I was in the car with him. Vanessa stared at him. I don't know you. I know all my husband's friends. Where do I know you from? You don't, Darius said quietly. The air changed. Latrice felt it like a pressure drop before a storm. I'll give y'all a minute, she said softly, backing out. Mrs. Hayes, I'll be right outside if you need anything. She slipped out into the hallway and pulled the curtain partially closed, enough for privacy, but not all the way. Hospital safety, patient monitoring, and, if she was honest, her own uneasy curiosity. She'd been a nurse long enough to recognize when something wasn't just awkward, it was dangerous. Chapter 5, Questions with No Answers. The raised voices started 5 minutes later. It wasn't shouting, not yet, but the tone was sharp, tense, and full of cracks. Why were you with him at nearly midnight? Vanessa demanded from inside the room. You told me you were working late and stopping by your mother's. Your mother lived in the opposite direction from where they said they found you. Nessa, just calm down. Don't tell me to calm down. Who is he? Why was he in your car? Why was his number saved in your phone with a fake name? I told you he's just... Just what, Marcus? Just what? Latrice kept her face neutral as she checked her other patients, but the sound of that conversation threaded through the background noise of monitors and soft footsteps. Darius opened the curtain suddenly and stepped out, eyes shining with unshed tears. He looked at Latrice like he was hoping she could magically fix something that had been broken long before tonight. She couldn't. She offered him a box of tissues from the counter without a word. He took one, sniffed. Can I stay? You can stay in the waiting area for now, she said gently. They need space. He nodded, walking slowly down the hall toward the family area. A few minutes later, the curtain rustled again and Vanessa stepped out. Her eyes were swollen, her chest rising and falling fast. She walked directly toward Latrice, each step loaded with something between desperation and fury. Nurse Harper, she said, reading her badge again. Can I talk to you? Latrice straightened. Yes, ma'am. What's going on? Vanessa's voice dropped, trembling. He's lying to me. I can feel it. Something is very wrong. I'm not crazy. I didn't say you were, Mrs. Hayes, Latrice replied softly. Vanessa's eyes searched hers with a kind of quiet panic. You see a lot in here. I know you do. You've been doing this long enough. You can tell when something ain't right. Latrice stayed silent. She already knew where this was going. Is he... Vanessa swallowed. Is he cheating on me? With that man? Is my husband gay? The words hung heavy in the air. Every instinct Latrice had, as a woman, as someone who'd seen lies chew people up and spit them out, wanted to say, yes, sis, your intuition is screaming for a reason. But every layer of training, every hospital policy, every line in the HIPAA manual, every thought of her nursing license screamed louder. I understand this is very difficult, Latrice said carefully, but I cannot discuss your husband's private medical information without his explicit consent. That includes anything about other patients in this hospital. Vanessa's eyes flooded. So there is something, she whispered. You see it. You just can't say it. Latrice exhaled slowly. I can't confirm or deny anything, Mrs. Hayes. My hands are tied. I'm not allowed to disclose his diagnoses, his test results, or details about anyone else involved. What diagnoses? Vanessa pounced. What tests? What are y'all testing him for? Latrice mentally cursed herself for that slight slip. Routine labs we run on accident victims, she corrected. Nothing I can discuss without his permission. Vanessa stared at her, shaking her head. If he got something that could hurt me or my children and you know about it, and you just stand here and say nothing, how do you sleep at night? The words hit hard. Latrice's jaw tightened. It's not about not caring, Mrs. Hayes. I care very much. But I have laws I am legally and ethically bound to follow. If I break them, I lose my job. I lose my license. I could be sued. I could go to jail. I have a daughter at home that depends on me. I cannot risk all that by breaking HIPAA, even if my heart hurts for you. Vanessa's face crumpled. For a second, it looked like she might collapse right there in the hallway. Latrice stepped closer, lowering her voice. What I can tell you is this. You have every right to demand honesty from your husband. You have every right to ask him directly if there's anything that could affect your health. You also have every right to talk to your own doctor about getting tested for anything you're worried about, regardless of what he says. Tears spilled over onto Vanessa's cheeks. So you're telling me, whatever this is, I'm on my own? I'm telling you that I cannot speak for him, Latrice replied quietly. But you are not crazy. If you feel something is off, trust that. Ask the hard questions. Protect yourself. They stood there in silence for a moment, two black women in a too bright hallway, trapped in a system that required one of them to stay silent while the other begged for truth. Vanessa wiped her face. Thank you, she whispered. It sounded like it hurt to say. Even if you couldn't say what I wanted, you still said something. She turned and walked back toward the room, shoulders squared like someone going into battle. Latrice felt that familiar ache settle deep in her chest. This job didn't just bruise your feet, it bruised your spirit. Chapter 6, Confession. The confession came hours later. By then, the ER had slowed a little. The drunk guy had been discharged with a cab voucher. The asthmatic kid was breathing easier and asleep. The older lady had been admitted for observation. Marcus had been moved from the trauma bay to a quieter step-down room, still under constant monitoring, but out of the main chaos. The lights were lower there, the beeping softer. Latrice finished giving report to the receiving nurse, but hadn't quite detached emotionally. Some patients stuck to you like that. She lingered outside the door, chart in hand, as Vanessa sat in the chair by Marcus's bedside, her hands clenched in her lap. He wouldn't look at her. Silence stretched between them like a brittle string. Finally, Vanessa spoke, voice low and flat. The frantic edge was gone. This was worse. They won't tell me anything, she said. Your nurse, that Latrice lady, she followed that HIPAA book like it was the Bible. She wouldn't even slip up and tell me what y'all drew blood for. Marcus stared at the wall. She's just doing her job. Is she? Vanessa asked. Funny how everybody doing their job but nobody protecting me. Still, he said nothing. She leaned forward. Marcus, look at me. Slowly, he turned his head, eyes bloodshot, face swollen and bruised. How long? She asked. He blinked. How long? What? How long you been lying to me? Her voice trembled, but she didn't look away, because whatever is going on between you and that man, it ain't new. Y'all don't look like no fresh mistake. That kind of panic I saw, that's old. That's history. Marcus's face crumpled. Nessa, please. Don't Nessa me like I'm slow. Her tone sharpened. How long have you been sleeping with men? How long have you been putting me at risk? How long have you been letting me lay up next to you in that bed, thinking I knew the man I married? The monitors ticked off heartbeats. Marcus swallowed hard. Since before we got married, he whispered. Latrice's hand tightened on the chart. Her stomach dropped, even though she'd suspected it. Vanessa inhaled sharply like he'd punched her. How many? She said through gritted teeth. I don't know, he said miserably. A lot. Different people. Not all the time. It wasn't like I didn't love you. I do love you. I couldn't make that part of me go away. Vanessa's laugh was hollow. So you just decided to drag me into your closet with you, huh? Tears slid down his face. I didn't mean to hurt you. I thought I could juggle it. I thought if I was careful. Careful? She cut in. You call this careful? You in a hospital bed? Your little boyfriend in the next room? Your labs looking crazy? She stopped herself abruptly, eyes widening. Marcus froze. What did they tell you? He asked slowly. They didn't tell me anything, she said. That's the problem. So let me ask you point blank, Marcus. She leaned so close, their faces almost touched. Do you have something I should know about? Something I could catch? Something my children could lose their mother behind? He broke then, fully. The dam snapped. Yes, he choked out, sobbing. Nessa, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. What is it? She demanded, tears streaming now too. Say it. I'm positive, he whispered. HIV? I've known for years. The room went preternaturally still. Vanessa stared at him like he had just told her the sky was actually green. You've known, she repeated slowly, for years. He nodded, shoulders shaking. I was gonna tell you. I kept trying to find the right moment. And then time passed, and then more time passed, and then it felt like it was too late. Like telling you would blow up everything. I didn't want to lose you, Nessa. I didn't want to lose the kids. I didn't want to lose my job. I didn't want to be that man, the one they whisper about in the family group chat. So I told myself, if I just stayed on my meds. But you didn't, she said quietly. He flinched. I tried. I did, at first, but the appointments, I got tired of the lectures, tired of the looks. The pills made me sick. Sometimes I'd stop for a while, then start again. I know my viral load's not where it should be. I know. Vanessa's breathing grew ragged. And through all that, you still laid down with me, raw. No warning, no conversation, no nothing. He sobbed. I thought maybe you wouldn't catch it. I thought maybe it would be okay. She shot to her feet so fast the chair skidded back. You thought maybe? She shouted, her voice cracking. You thought maybe? Marcus, I trusted you with my body and my life. I stood in front of God and everybody and promised to be your wife, and you out here gambling with my health like you playing spades at your cousin's cookout? The monitors chimed as his heart rate spiked. I'm sorry, he cried. I know I don't deserve forgiveness. I know. She pressed her hands to her face, shaking, then dropped them and looked toward the doorway. Latrice snapped her gaze away, pretending to be deeply engrossed in the chart. She'd been standing close enough to intervene if they got physical, but far enough to pretend she didn't hear every word. Now Vanessa stormed out. tears streaming down her face, shoulders rigid. She brushed past Latrice without stopping, but then suddenly turned on her heel. "You knew," she said hoarsely. "Didn't you?" Latrice held her ground, heart pounding. "Mrs. Hayes." "You knew," Vanessa repeated, voice raw. "I saw it in your eyes earlier. You knew he had something, and you couldn't say a word." Latrice swallowed past the lump in her throat. "I'm bound by federal law, hospital policy, and my professional ethics. I cannot disclose a patient's diagnosis without their consent, even to a spouse." Vanessa laughed bitterly through her tears. "You know what's crazy? I don't even hate you for that. I hate him. I hate that he put you in that position. I hate that he put me in this position." She wiped her face with the back of her hand. "I'm going to get tested," she said. "First thing. And if I'm positive—" Her jaw clenched. "He better hope I ain't," she finished softly. "'Cause if I am, I'm gonna make sure everybody knows exactly how I got it." She turned and walked down the hall, each step uneven but determined. Latrice watched her go, heart heavy. Then she took a slow breath, straightened her shoulders, and walked back into Marcus's room. Chapter 7. Between Law and Conscience. Marcus lay there, staring at the ceiling, tears still drying on his cheeks. He didn't look at Latrice when she entered. She checked his vitals quietly, noting his elevated heart rate and blood pressure. "You want something for anxiety?" she asked gently. "I can page the doctor." He let out a hollow laugh. "Is there a medication for, I destroyed my family and I might have killed the only person who ever really had my back?" "If there is," Latrice said softly, "they haven't stocked it in the Pyxis." He chuckled weakly, then winced as his ribs protested. "I heard some of it," she admitted. "I didn't try to, but wall's thin in here." He sighed. "Then you know I'm trash." "I know you're human," she countered. "Humans do some wild, ugly, selfish things, especially when they're scared. Doesn't excuse it, but it explains it." He finally turned his head to look at her. "You must really hate me." Latrice thought of Vanessa's face, of Darius's trembling hands, of all the patients she'd seen over the years whose lives got tangled in lies they were too scared to untangle until something snapped. "I don't get to hate you," she said. "I have to treat you." "That's worse," he muttered. "You being decent to me when I know I don't deserve it." She adjusted his oxygen tubing. "Deserving ain't never been a requirement for medical care." He was quiet for a moment. Then, "She asked you earlier, didn't she? About my status, or if I was cheating, something like that." "Yes," Latrice said. No point pretending otherwise. He clearly knew. "And you didn't tell her." "No," she said simply. "Even though you probably wanted to," he murmured. Latrice looked at him steadily. "What I want and what I'm allowed to do are two different things, Mr. Hayes. I've got a license I worked hard for. I've got a kid at home that needs me to keep it. I've got laws I'm bound to. So while my heart might want to snatch people up and tell them, 'Run, girl,' my job is to protect patient privacy, even when I don't like the patient's choices." He swallowed hard. "Why? Why what? Why would you protect me like that?" he asked hoarsely. "If you just told her, you could have saved her some time, saved her some pain, saved yourself from feeling guilty about it." Latrice exhaled, leaning one hip against the bed rail. "I didn't protect you," she said. "I protected my license. I protected the integrity of this job. I protected the next patient that comes in here needing to know their secrets are safe. HIPAA ain't about you personally. It's bigger than that." He stared at her like he'd never thought about it that way. "Also," she added after a beat, "it ain't my place to be the one to blow your life up. That was your job a long time ago. You just didn't do it." He flinched like she'd slapped him, but he nodded slowly. "You're right," he whispered. "God, you're right." Silence settled between them, thick but not entirely hostile. After a moment, Marcus cleared his throat. "What do you think she'll do, Nessa, if she's positive?" Latrice shook her head. That's not for me to speculate on, but I do know this. She's stronger than you realize. Women always are. He closed his eyes. I'm not going to tell you that you're a monster, she said quietly. That's between you, your conscience, and whatever God you pray to. But I am going to tell you this. He opened his eyes again, focusing on her. If she tests positive and it's from you, Latrice said, you owe her more than tears. You owe her full accountability. None of that I was confused mess. None of that I didn't mean it halfway. Apology. Full, ugly, honest accountability. Therapy, child support, alimony if she wants it. Whatever it takes, because she didn't sign up for this. He blinked rapidly. Okay, he whispered. Okay, I hear you. And if by some miracle she's negative, Latrice continued, you need to thank every ancestor you got and use that second chance to get your life together. Take your meds the way you're supposed to. Stop endangering people. Stop hiding behind double lives. Figure out who you are and live in that. Don't drag nobody else into the dark with you. The monitors beeped steadily. Marcus swallowed. You sound like my ID doctor, he said faintly, except meaner. Latrice snorted softly. He got to talk to you in clinic. I got to watch your wife's face fall apart in real time. That'll make anybody a little mean. He wiped at his eyes clumsily. Thank you, he said after a long moment. For what? She asked. For not screaming at me, for not treating me like I'm already dead, for following the rules even though it made you look like the bad guy to her. Latrice shrugged lightly. I've been the bad guy before. Comes with this badge. She straightened. I'm going to go check on my other patients. You need anything before I step out? He hesitated. If you see Darius, can you just tell him I'm okay? That I'm not mad at him for staying away while she was here. He did the right thing. She considered, thinking of the fine lines around who was officially allowed information. He's on your visitor list, right? She asked. Yeah, Marcus said quickly. He is. He's been on there for a while. Under friend. Then I can tell him you're stable, she said. That's it. No details. He nodded, relief flickering across his face. That's enough. Chapter 8. Aftermath. In the family waiting area, Darius sat hunched on a plastic chair, elbows on his knees, fingers laced so tightly his knuckles were white. The TV on the wall played some late-night infomercial nobody was watching. When Latrice walked in, he looked up, hope and dread warring in his eyes. How is he? He asked. He's stable, she said. He's been moved upstairs for monitoring. They're still keeping a close eye on his lungs, but he's talking, breathing, and alert. Darius exhaled shakily. Thank God. She hesitated, then added, he asked me to let you know he's not mad you gave them space. He understands. Tears spilled over instantly. Darius wiped them away roughly. I didn't want to leave him, but I also didn't want to be standing there when it all came out, you know? I ain't his wife. That was her moment. As much as I wish it was, mine. Latrice sat down in the chair across from him, just for a minute. Her shift technically wasn't over yet, but the pace had slowed enough to breathe. How long y'all been together? She asked quietly. He laughed sadly. Off and on, almost 10 years. She tried not to let that show on her face. And his wife never suspected? She asked. Oh, she suspected something, he said, staring at a crack in the floor tile. She just ain't know what. He always kept them worlds separate, me over here, her over there, church events with her, hotel rooms with me, family vacations with her, quick weekends out of town with me for work. He shook his head. He built a whole double life and thought he could live in both houses forever. And you, Latrice asked, not unkindly, you were okay with that? No, he said simply. I told him I wasn't, over and over. I broke it off a dozen times, tried to date other people, tried to move on. But every time I'd get free, he'd pop back up crying promising he was going to leave, saying he just needed more time. And like a fool, I kept believing him. He swallowed. That accident felt like God slamming on the brakes, like either deal with this now or I'll keep letting it crash into you. Latrice nodded slowly. Sometimes the wreck is the wake-up call. He looked at her, eyes red. You know he's positive, right? She didn't flinch. I know what's in his chart. And you know he didn't tell her, he continued. I know she didn't know, Latrice said carefully, until tonight. He swallowed hard. I tried to get him to tell her. I begged him. I told him it wasn't right. I told him he was playing with her life. I told him if she ever found out from somebody else, it would be 10 times worse. But I'm just the side piece, right? The friend. His voice cracked on that last word. Latrice looked at him for a long moment. You're not just anything, she said softly. You're a person who was lied to and used in some ways, too. You might have known more than she did, but you were still getting crumbs. You deserved better than being a secret for a decade. He snorted. Yeah, well, deserve don't pay the rent. Sure don't, she agreed, but it can help you decide what you accept next. He looked away. They sat in silence for a bit, the infomercial droning on about miracle knives in the background. Finally, Darius spoke again. You think she'll forgive him? Latrice shook her head slowly. That's between them. I can't predict that. I don't know her like that. I just met her tonight. He nodded. What I do know, Latrice continued, is that forgiveness and staying are two different things. She might forgive him one day for herself, but I wouldn't be surprised if she still walks away. He swallowed. And me? And you what? She asked gently. Where do I fit in all that? He whispered. Do I wait? Move on? Am I supposed to feel happy if he finally comes out and chooses me? Or guilty that it took all this for him to do it? That, Latrice said, is a question for your therapist. He let out a surprised laugh. You know what? You right. You so right. She smiled faintly. Seriously though, get support. This situation touches health, identity, relationships, spirituality, all of it. You shouldn't try to untangle that by yourself. He nodded slowly. You talk like somebody who done seen some things. I work night shift in the ER, she said. I've seen everything. Chapter 9, The Walkout. By the time Latrice clocked out, dawn was bruising the sky with hints of purple and pink. The parking lot was still mostly dark, street lights casting long shadows across asphalt. She slid into her car and sat there for a moment, letting the quiet seep into her bones. Her feet ached, her shoulders were tight. Her mind replayed scenes from the night like a highlight reel she didn't ask for. Vanessa's face when she realized her suspicions were right. Marcus is broken. I've known for years. Darius is whispered. I ain't got no ring she can see. She, Latrice, had sat smack in the middle of all that, invisible and central at the same time. She pulled down the visor and looked at herself in the mirror. Dark circles, dry lips, eyes that had seen too much in 12 hours. How do you sleep at night? Vanessa had asked. Latrice sighed. The truth was, some nights she didn't. Not well, but what she did do was keep going. Because for every Marcus, there was a kid whose asthma attack she'd caught early. For every messy love triangle, there was a little old man she'd held hands with while he took his last breath so he didn't die alone. For every ethical bind, there were 100 simple acts of care that nobody wrote down. She started the car, letting the engine hum. As she pulled out of the lot, her phone buzzed with a text from her teenage daughter. You off yet? Can we get breakfast before I go to school? Latrice smiled tiredly. Yeah, Mama's on the way. She hit send. For a moment, she thought about Vanessa. Somewhere, that woman was probably making her own calls. To her doctor, to a friend, to a lawyer. Taking back control one terrifying step at a time. She thought about Darius, maybe sitting on his own couch now, replaying 10 years and wondering who he was outside of somebody's secret. And she thought about Marcus in that hospital bed, finally stripped of the lies he'd wrapped around himself like armor, forced to face the damage he'd done. Latrice didn't know how any of their stories would end. That wasn't her job. Her job was what she'd done tonight. Protect privacy, provide care, stand firm in the law even when it hurt, and hold space for the fallout she couldn't fix. As she turned onto the main road, the sky lightened a little more. "Another day, another shift," she murmured. "And they wonder why nurses look older than we are." She cracked her window, letting cool air wash over her face, and drove toward home, toward breakfast, her child's chatter, and a few hours of sleep before she had to come back and do it all over again. Because no matter how wild the stories got in that hospital, Latrice Harper wasn't the main character. She was the witness. And sometimes, in a world full of secrets and consequences, that was the heaviest role of all.